I'm Larry Fedoruk, and this is I Was 8, my weekly podcast. Stories about growing up in a small town on the prairies. Timelines bend a little, some of the names had to be changed, but these events happened. It's Season 2 of I Was 8.
Chapter 4, More Agony Than Ecstasy.
I was 8, pushing 9, which meant 10 wasn't that far away, double digits. Then before you know it, teenager, driving a car, getting married, living in a house with kids of my own. It was all happening so fast. I was feeling my age. My parents weren't helping. They began to question many of the cherished pastimes of my quickly fleeting youth. You know, when you're 4, running around the house with a towel as your Superman cape, it's cute. By 8, I'm hearing things like, "You're getting a little old for that game, aren't you, Larry?" Was I? Maybe I was. Remarks meant to be complimentary, like, "You've really grown," and "You're getting to be a big boy now," were no longer a source of pride or pleasure, but instead rather frightening. Sunrise, sunset, quickly flow the years. Perhaps I should change my ways. This was confirmed one day by Mom. I had been telling her what I had discovered. If I lay down on the grass near the back step of the house, it takes me 37 complete turns to roll all the way across the backyard before I hit the garage. I'd done it 12 times, 37 each try. Fascinating, right? She said, "Maybe it's time you started acting your age." Huh. What does that even mean? P.S. Not sure I ever learned. But that started the thought process when I was 8. In my own defense, by the time I was 8, I'd made a lot of progress in my personal reading habits. This is key to the story, though I still occasionally enjoyed the literary shenanigans of Archie, Jughead, and their idiot friend Reggie. I had also moved on to the more advanced text, the more progressive genre of prose and poetry found within the pages of one Mad magazine. So, you see, I was growing. Actually, I had this pretty sweet deal. My mom's friend, Mrs. Needle, worked part-time at the drugstore. At the end of the month, one of her jobs was to return the unsold magazines to the distributor. Usually, full magazines are not returned, simply the covers. A refund is then paid. Unsold, unused, coverless magazines went into a barrel fire out back. Mrs. Needle found out I liked Mad Magazine, and she would save them for me. Each month, there would be at least one unsold copy. During the month, I'd go to the drugstore, read most of it, put it back on the stand, and then at the end of the month, get it for free, without the cover. At one point, I had the largest collection of Mad magazines in the whole town. None with a cover, but, I could still fold that back page for hilarious results. Around this time, my mom, the school teacher, wanted to join a book club. A new, large, hardcover book coming in the mail every couple of weeks. My dad, the bartender, laborer, grade 6 graduate, didn't quite understand why the house needed more books. A waste of money. We already had books, an entire encyclopedia we bought for the kid. Isn't that the entire world of knowledge? What else could possibly be in yet another book? Mom worked at school, he said. School was just a building full of more books. So many books everywhere. We had one house, one car. Dad had one good suit, one pair of good dress shoes. We had one TV, yet several books. It just didn't make sense. Well, Dad, Mom said that these new books she's getting are full of wonderful stories. You want a story, Dad said? Here's a story. Last night at the bar, Mike Bando, not the Mike Bando from Saskatoon, the other one, the one we call Short Mike, he gets into a fight with Fatty Mickelson. Before I could even break it up, they cracked the glass on the cigarette machine. The cops had to come. I said I wouldn't press charges if they paid for the glass. But I told those two arseholes if they ever start up again, I'll haul them off to jail myself. There's a story. No book, free of charge. Now, as fascinating as these tales were, Mom went ahead and joined the book club anyway. These thick tomes began to arrive. They were beautiful and heavy. They got their own special bookshelf in the living room, near but not with the encyclopedias. I could look at them, but only if I'd washed my hands first. Absolutely no food or drink near the new books. And here's a strange rule. I wasn't allowed to go near them if I had crayons. I guess Mom thought that sooner or later, if I wasn't acting my age, the temptation to color in them would be too great. Maybe. I mean, there's no pictures in them, just words. I don't know what she thought I was going to color in there. One afternoon, I asked my mom if I could read those books. She hesitated, but then said, of course, maybe someday, because right now I probably wouldn't understand them. These were books for grown-ups. Wouldn't understand it, huh? Well, without realizing it, she had just dropped the gauntlet. We'll see who's acting their age now, won't we? I issued myself a challenge to read one of those books from start to finish. Reading one of those books would take me from Superman towel cape and backyard rolling around into grown-up world. I was 8, practically an adult anyway. I picked the biggest, thickest book, well over 700 pages. It was also the one with the most beautiful cover, The Agony and the Ecstasy by Irving Stone. That would be it. I'll read this whole thing. I had already pretty much graduated from Archie Andrews to Alfred E. Newman. Alfred E. Newman to Irving Stone seemed like the next logical step to me. I'll bet you no one in my school, certainly not grade 3, had read an entire big thick book like this one, maybe no one in my whole town. My dad's friend, Fatty Mickelson, was grown up, and I don't think he can even read at all. No, I would be the first, certainly the first 8-year-old. I also decided to read it secretly. Won't tell anyone, not even Mom. Then when I'm done, one day at dinner, I'll just randomly start discussing The Agony and the Ecstasy. Hey, folks, so I just finished this book. Here's a funny thing, and Mom would be so impressed. Not so much Dad. Well, I don't know, maybe there's a bar fight in the book or something. He'd like that part. Before I absolutely committed, I decided to open up the book to some random pages to see if I knew any of the words in that book. After all, Mom said it was for grown-ups. Guess what? I knew pretty much all of them. Pope, Christ, I know those, like from church. Hospital, that was in there. Buried, got it. Escape, yeah, this was easy. I knew all of these words. What's this word? Necessity. Yes, that's like you need stuff you need. Okay, let's do this. How is this a grown-up book? I thought. I know all the words. I can read this. I even knew the name Michelangelo. I heard about him in school. He was like from the old days, a church painter or something. I just knew that if you drew a really cool picture or did some fantastic coloring in a coloring book, people would say, "Hey Larry, you're the next Michelangelo." Same way that if you did something smart, they called you Einstein. So Michelangelo was like the Einstein of artists. Hey, I'd like to know more about Michelangelo. He's in this book. Well, that's the clincher. All right, Michelangelo, I know the words. That's it. I'm committed. The Agony and the Ecstasy by Irving Stone. I'll begin reading this weekend when Mom's busy. If she runs to the store, I can stay home and knock off a few chapters. During the week, I can read the rest of it when I'm home alone after school. In about a week, I'll be done, and after that, dinner conversation about the book I just read. Before the weekend arrived, I did some prep. First of all, my Archie comics in a box and into the garage, so I wouldn't be tempted to read them instead. I kept the Mad magazines in my room, though. I thought, in case I needed to read them as a warm-up. How would I mark the page in the book so that Mom didn't know I was reading it? Can't use a bookmark. Can't dog-ear a page. My system would be this. The moment I finished reading a section, I would note the page number, quickly run up to my room, write it down on a piece of paper, and hide that paper at the bottom of my sock drawer. I couldn't have the stuff on me because, remember, crayons weren't allowed near the books, and I wouldn't take the book too far from the bookshelf in case I had to return it quickly. I would read the Agony and the Ecstasy in the big chair near the bookshelf by the window. Saturday finally came. Dad was at work, but Mom seemed to be hovering around a lot. Come on, Mom, get busy. I've got some reading to do. Finally, she said she was going to the grocery store. Did I want to come along? Usually I love that idea, but not today. I made some excuse, and she left. All right, here we go. This is exciting. I grabbed the book and plunked down in the chair. Wow, here's the thing about these grown-up books. They don't even start on page 1. There's all of these pages full of other stuff first. Chapter 1 starts like on page 10. I just sat down. I'm on page 10 already. This is going to be a breeze. Hey, look out the window. It's my idiot friend Philip. Is that a new bike? Did he get a new bike? He said he wasn't getting a new bike. I wanted a new bike, and my line was going to be, Philip got a new bike, why can't I get a new bike? But he wasn't getting a new bike. Now he has a new bike? Oh, just a minute. Maybe it's his brother's bike. I knocked on the window. He didn't hear me. Should I go to his house and ask him if he got a new bike? Of course, I'm reading this book now, but I could go later, but what if he's not at home later? Okay, I put the book back and chased him down the street. So Monday now, home alone after school, was my next chance. I raced home, no meandering, and got right to the book. All right, chapter 1. He knew the answer. It had been buried within him for a long time. There was no escape. Just a second. Is that the same squirrel in our yard from last week? I think so. I better go check this out. And so it went each day after school, and Saturdays when I had some time to sneak a look at the book. It was impossible to read this thing. None of it made any sense. How could I know all the words but not be interested in this book? Maybe all the words are in the wrong order or something. Some days I'd flip to the middle of the book and try and read that first, thinking maybe this part will get me interested in the rest of it. What about Michelangelo and his paints? And did he have crayons? Did he own coloring books? Where's that part? Nothing good in this book. There's no bar fights, no cowboys, no Betty, no Veronica, not even spy versus spy. How do grown-ups read this crap? I know. What kind of 8-year-old tries to read the Agony and the Ecstasy? Well, this one. Because you know what? I had made a commitment, a promise to myself. So I kept trying to read this book for the rest of the school year and through a good part of summer vacation. It was so hard. I wanted this book to make me feel older and more grown up. Instead, it just made me feel younger and stupider. By mid-August, I went into the garage and brought the box of Archie comics back up to my room. Piled them up next to the Mad magazines. Done. Over. Mission impossible and not accomplished. Lots of agony, no ecstasy. No book, not grown up, no dinner conversation. Back to towel capes and rolling in the grass for you, young man. And Irving Stone. You call yourself a writer. Alfred E. Newman. Now that's writing. These days, I love reading books, biographies, and novels mostly. I've also, over the years, picked up many of the classics I may have missed in my youth, and I've read them. I've never read The Agony and the Ecstasy. No desire. Won't even see the movie. Too many bad associations. I did get a chance one year to go to Rome. Was there only a couple of days. Went to the Vatican, saw the Sistine Chapel. The tourists around me oohed and awed at the work of the great Michelangelo. And I remember all I could think about while standing there was, damn you, Michelangelo. You cost me a summer.
I Was 8 is a weekly series written, produced, and voiced by Larry Fedoruk. A new episode every Thursday. Share your stories with Larry, or if you like, share Larry's stories with a friend. This podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Larry Fedoruk, that's Fedoruk, can be reached at larryfedoruk37@gmail.com.